So the Three Stooges were on Capitol Hill yesterday. Well, not literally on Capitol Hill, but via the internet, in the forms of Jack Dorsey from Twitter, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, and Sundar Pichai of Google. And they were there to talk about uh, basically social media's role in the dissemination of information. Jack Dorsey didn't fare so well. Uh, Ted Cruz nailed him. Senator Lee nailed him. And he really couldn't answer any of the questions. His answers all fell back to policy. But it fell back to policy that it doesn't seem that Twitter broadly uses. It's a one-sided policy, at least through the eyes of people that see it. It's not a policy that is weighted equally amongst Twitter users because for years since the last election, we have had what New York Times, Washington Post, any kind of news organization and people for that matter talking about Russia collusion, the Russia hoax, Donald Trump. Anything to do with Donald Trump gets no fact check, it gets no context, it gets nothing. And it's basically allowed to go freely. You've got the Ayatollah in Iran posting about denying the Holocaust, doing away with Israel, destroying Israel. That doesn't seem to be offensive or against community guidelines. But, I guess the community guidelines, it's another one of those rules for thee, not for me type situations where Twitter just picks and chooses when they want to enforce their community guidelines. Facebook too, not to the extent that Twitter has done it in this case, but and YouTube as well. Instagram. Jack Dorsey says, well, there's other platforms out there. Yeah, there's other platforms out there. But what platform other than Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook can anybody go to get the amount of traffic? There isn't one. There's plenty of platforms out there, but none of them offer the views and the potential views of the big three. That's just the way that it is. We may not like it, we may not agree with it, but that's how it is. And these companies are supposed to act as utilities. They have protections as utilities. So that would be like me being on the telephone and talking to somebody and me giving an opinion or saying something and somebody breaking into my call and saying, oh, your call has been muted due to the fact that this goes against our community company guidelines. It doesn't work that way. When you pick and choose the information that you push forward, you're no longer a utility, you're what they call a publisher. That's why this 230 protection should not apply to these social media platforms because they are publishing. They're publishing information, and it may not be it may be because of ad revenue. The advertisers may say, we don't want that, but that doesn't change the fact that if they are doing it because of ads or because of pressure from ads or ad money or whatever you want to call it, it's still publishing because they're picking and choosing what they want to push forward. No different than a book. See, this is very important. People don't think that it is, but it's very important because he who controls the information has control, especially nowadays. Before the internet, you could actually go to a library or pick up a book, and that book would be the same forever. You could read it, it would be the same. Pick it up a month from now, read it again, it would be the same, but not with the internet. The internet can be censored and changed in real time. You can go back, you can read a story now, go back, and the story can be exactly different. 180 degrees different. You can go to, just like with the Webster's Dictionary page, they change the definition of a word in real time to fit the narrative of the person who used the term. It's a very slippery slope that we're going down here with allowing these companies to have the power. And Jack Dorsey, after all the years of people talking about how Russia used social media and Facebook to influence elections and blah, 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 Jack Dorsey had the nerve to sit there and say that he didn't believe Twitter had the power to influence an election. Are you serious? Are you serious? Since the last election, there has been countless untold stories written about Donald Trump. Russia collusion, his taxes, business deals, dirty dossier, you name it. He was impeached over a freaking phone call. That has nothing to do with Twitter, but all those stories were able to run on these social media platforms unimpeded. Unimpeded whatsoever. No fact checks, no contextual warnings, no anything. In each of those stories, there were zero evidence. All it was sources. Sources say. Nothing tangible, nothing you can read, nothing you can hold, nothing you can listen to, nothing. But here in this Biden story, we have actual emails. We have video that we can watch. We have audio we can listen to. And now we have one of their business associates coming out and corroborating that. And not only that, he's adding information to it in his iPhones, his messages that he's turned over, which the FBI has said seem to be pretty legit. They say the New York Post can tweet. Oh, they're not locking their Twitter account. They can tweet. They just have to go delete the original post. They can put it back up, of course, but they have to delete the original post. And why is that important? Why does it matter? Well, I'll tell you why it matters. Because that original tweet and that original post is the one that got shared. That's the one that went out. That's the one that went viral. So if that no longer exists, the story will never get the momentum that it had. Never. You'll never be able to build the momentum that you have with the original. If the original is gone, all those links, all the stories, everything is just going to go to a screen that says this story is no longer available, or this may have been deleted by whatever. It's bullshit. It's a bullshit double standard. And not only that, it's bad business practice. You have people, you have a newspaper. This is a newspaper, one of the oldest newspapers in America. And their business is being threatened by these companies. People who have been deplatformed, their businesses have been destroyed. They worked hard to build. Trust me, I know. I've not got a following. I can only imagine the amount of work that they put in to build the followings that they had. And that was all taken away. You have Facebook literally going after a page that had millions of followers and offering it to another entity to run as if they were the same people. That's fraud. But yet with these 230 protections, nothing can be done because they're utilities, or so they say. But they're not utilities. They're picking the information that they want to go through. They are choosing. They are editing their pages through this. Publishers edit. Utilities do not edit. Publishers edit. Therefore, their bad business practices need to be taken and contested in court. These protections need to be removed. I'm not saying you need to break the companies up. I'm all for it. If people have a good idea and they build a company, I'm all for it. I think that it's very scary that these companies are as big as they are. And as Jack claims, oh yeah, just go to another platform. There's no platforms bigger than the big three. There's plenty out there. You're not going to get any of the traction off of Parler, Minds, or Free for All that Outlaw Morgan just started. Any of these other platforms that you're going to get off of Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. It's not going to happen. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much ad revenue you pump into that site to boost your post. The amount of people is going to be negligible. Very, very minuscule to the amount that they'll get on the big three. That's why it's bad business practices. That's why this shit should have been done years ago. When they first started, when they tanked Alex Jones, when they tanked Milo Yiannopoulos. That's when that should happen. When they went after Gavin McInnes. And it's even moved over into other things other than social media. PayPal. I bet people didn't know that PayPal kicked off Joe Biggs a long time ago, and people that are associated with the Proud Boys. PayPal just says, well, you can't bank with us. Not because you got a bad credit score, not because you're a criminal, nothing but just because of how you believe. Think about that for a minute. Your beliefs. This isn't our country. This isn't what the internet was designed to do. The internet is very powerful. I'm sure we can all remember pre-2016 Facebook and pre-2016, like 2013, 14 YouTube, and the Twitter in its early days, when it really was like you were on a street corner. You could actually say what was on your mind. If people didn't agree with it, that's fine. Move on. But now we've got to a point where everybody has to find offense in everything. These social media companies are polarizing. They are polarizing our citizenry. They're polarizing the populace. They're dividing us into groups. There is no middle ground anymore because they're pushing one ideology. And those who do not believe in that ideology feel that they have to fight tooth and nail to keep their belief systems whole because they're being destroyed, all because they believe a different way. You know, it's not against the law for people to have a different belief. Our Constitution actually says we have a First Amendment right. We can believe and speak and worship. We have, that's a fundamental right. But yet the Ayatollah of Iran can go talk about destroying Israel and doing all this. Antifa members can talk about destroying America. Their tweets are still up. Their Facebook posts are still up. Their Facebook videos are still up. Their YouTube videos are still up. You know, I talk about trying to fix immigration. I talk about, you know, legit things, healthcare. Granted, I don't have the following big enough for it to matter if my videos are suppressed or not. But there are some that have. Alex Jones, for instance. You've literally, I mean, I wonder what his revenue was before you guys deplatformed him. He ought to be able to sue you to get that back. You know, every time I make a Facebook post or a Facebook Live or a Facebook video, which I don't do very often anymore, but I see the boost the post. I wonder how many posts Alex Jones boosted. I wonder how much money he gave you before you took him off. See, that's bad business practice. When you give somebody money to advertise, when you give somebody money to boost a post, and then you get deplatformed, that means basically you were defrauded out of your money. So what kind of 230 protection protects that? We've got to change this, folks. We've got to get social media, and we've got to change ourselves. There's a lot of stuff I don't like. I see a lot of videos, a lot of posts, a lot of Facebook, a lot of Twitter, a lot of Parler, a lot of all these other platforms, DLive. I see all of this, and a lot of it I don't agree with. But you know what I do? I don't watch it. I go to something else. You know, when did we get away from that? When did we get away from it's okay to disagree? If we don't do something pretty soon, there's one of which it's already too late. There's no stopping it now. They know going up in there that nothing's going to happen to them. They're going to look like idiots. They're going to look like fools. You know, they're not going to have any answers. But at the end of the day, they're going to go back to their company. It's going to be business as usual, and nothing's going to happen. Just like with Hunter Biden, just like with Joe Biden. They're going to go back to business as usual. Nothing's going to happen there either. I mean, think about it. If you like what I do, share it. If you think there's somebody that might need to see this, share it with them. Send them over to the page. You know, get down there, like, subscribe, hit the bell. It all helps. Trying to build a little platform here. Unlike Alex Jones or any of the people that got deplatformed, but you know, I'd like to have a little following. It'd be nice. So share the video, get it out there. You know, like, subscribe, put it on your socials, let people see it. If you think it's worthy, let people see it. Y'all have a great day. Talk to you later. See you next time.